welcome to True IELTS. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Jessica, and this is
IELTS Over Coffee.
Hello and welcome to 10 most common IELTS topics. We're continuing our series of the 10 most common topics that we find in IELTS writing. We're going to be looking at a number of pieces of vocabulary today that we can make you sound more natural and more academic. Now for each piece of vocabulary, the same as in the last lesson, we're going to look at a definition for it, some common collocations, or maybe some word families, or even synonyms, so words that mean the same thing. And we're also going to have some examples of the vocabulary in use. Now I suggest that after each piece of vocabulary that you pause the video and write down, make some notes of things. Today we're going to be looking at the topic of health, and Jessica's here with me to help discuss that.
Hello.
Fantastic. So, should we get started?
Definitely.
Cool. So the first word we're going to look at is the word disorder. Okay, disorder. Now, a disorder is an illness of the mind or body. Some common collocations for that would be you can have a mental disorder, an eating disorder, or you could suffer from a disorder. Okay, and here's an example sentence.
So we could say that nowadays many people suffer from eating disorders such as bulimia or anorexia.
Exactly. Fantastic.
Okay, so our next word today is chronic. Chronic is an adjective that we use to describe maybe a disease or a situation which continues to happen over a long period of time. So for example, we could talk about a chronic disease, a chronic illness, or a situation like chronic unemployment, something affecting an area for a long time.
Absolutely. So let's just try and use it in a sentence. We could say something like, he's suffered from chronic back pain his whole life. Wonderful. Okay,
so next word?
Yeah. Okay, so the next word we're going to look at is the word additives. Okay, now additives are a substance that you add to food to improve its taste or to improve the way that it looks, something like that. Generally, they're maybe not so good for you. Do you eat much food with additives, or do you try to avoid additives?
Well, I think it's quite difficult to avoid additives because they seem to be in so many types of food, from food colouring to things like MSG. In our modern world, it's quite difficult, but I do generally try to avoid them. I try to eat more natural foods, fruits and vegetables.
Read the pack, look for the additives, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
It is difficult to avoid though, isn't it?
Yeah, very much.
Absolutely. Okay, fantastic.
So our next word today is epidemic. An epidemic is a problem or a disease that can affect many people at the same time or spreads widely through an area. So can you think of any maybe recent epidemics?
Well, I guess the most recent one was Ebola in Africa, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Really amazing, all those doctors and nurses that went out to Africa to help, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. They sort of risked their lives despite the epidemic. Yeah.
Precisely.
Amazing.
Okay, now we're going to look at another word. This word's a noun and it's the word cognition. Okay, now cognition is the use of a conscious mental process. So for example, reflection, introspection, or imagination. These are all different types of mental processes, and when we use these we say you're using your cognition. Could you give us an example?
Yeah, so we could say that one thing that sets humans apart from other mammals is our developed cognitive skills.
Absolutely, using the adjective cognitive there. Yeah, good.
Okay, so our next word today is prevent. So prevent is the verb, and this is to stop something from happening before it happens. So for example, we could try to prevent damage, we can prevent the spread of something, or prevent people from doing something maybe harmful.
So what's a good way to prevent the spread of an illness or a disease?
Well, we could take preventative measures such as always washing our hands. Maybe if we're sick, we can make sure we sneeze or cough into a tissue rather than out into the open.
Throw it away.
Yep. All of those things. Very simple things that are useful for preventing disease.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to move on to another word. This word is the word rampant. okay? And it's an adjective, okay? Now, rampant means for things to get worse in an uncontrolled way, okay? Here's an example for you. In many developed countries, diabetes is rampant, so it's getting worse and worse and worse, and people aren't controlling it.
Very interesting. So another word for you today is the word narcotics. Now this is quite an academic word to talk about drugs, particularly illegal drugs that can affect your mood. So often we hear this word in the news, talk about controlling narcotics, the import of narcotics, or smuggling narcotics into a country. And
we could use it in a sentence like this. The problem of how to deal with narcotic trafficking has been one that's troubled governments for a very long time. So, we've just looked at 8 words there, which are very commonly used words when we're talking about health in the IELTS writing. And putting these words into your writing will make it sound more natural, will make it sound more academic. And it gives you some interesting topics to speak about. We also looked at collocations. So collocations, as I said in the first video, are words that go together, okay? And why were they important again, Jill?
Well, it's sometimes difficult to remember just single words when we use them. We need context. So having these collocations can make us both sound more natural in our speech, and also it's easier to remember them because we can remember the situations and therefore build our vocabulary. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, that's all for today. I hope you join us in our next lesson, which will be about the environment. See you there.
Thank you.
Bye.